Hey everyone, Dave here in the garage with the 2010 Audi Q5. Today I'm going to be investigating a strong fuel odor coming from the vehicle. My symptoms are that I can drive the vehicle around with the windows up and everything seems fine. As soon as I roll any window down, I get a strong odor of gasoline. If the car is parked and I simply walk past it, I can smell gasoline. I pop the hood, I can't smell gasoline anywhere in the engine compartment. There's no leaks on the ground anywhere. I don't see any fuel leaking bad enough to be dripping onto the ground. I have no evap codes at all. And so this car has 190,000 miles on it now. And I've heard there have been issues with the fuel pump actually leaking. The fuel pump in this car is in the fuel tank. There's an access door below the passenger side rear seat. So I'm going to pull the back seat out, open up that access door, get some eyes on the fuel pump, and let's see what we find. Alright, to remove the bottom seat cushion here on these cars, you need to lift up on the front and then pull it out like this. So get a firm grip, lift it up, and then pull it out like this. Okay, so these two front ones use an M10 4-square. Looks like that. There's one. There's two. Alright, I'm going to remove these little plastic things here, like that. To gain better access to these bolts. So I'll remove these two. And you can probably get straight down now. I've got a wobble socket that I'm just going to lock on here. So that's out. And that's out. So now this seat is ready to come out. Actually, this seat is not ready to come out because there's a cable hooked to it for the sliding up and back. So there's a cable locked onto it. So I'm just going to get this seat up and out of the way, kind of put it more in the back of the truck. Kind of get it up out of the way. Okay, and here's the cable that's hooked up to it still. So that's good, just get it out of the way, and here's where the fuel pump is. Okay, now to take this door off, we got 3 Phillips screws. 1, 2, 3. Set these aside. Now this door should just come off. And it does. And well, here's my problem right here. Look at all this fuel. Can you see that fuel? This is standing fuel right here. So this is what I'm smelling. Okay. Alright, I'm not sure if you'd be able to see this or not, but there's a crack right here, and fuel is just spilling right out of that crack. So there's my leak, this top cap of this fuel pump. There, you can see that. Alright, so I'm going to try to unplug this fuel pump, start the car, and just let all the fuel pressure bleed off so that when I disconnect it, fuel isn't spraying all over the interior. Alright, so this connector has like a little red tab here that I think you need to lift up to unlock it. Alright, this plug is pretty tight in there. I pulled out this red tab, this locking tab, lifted it, pulled it right out. And then I had to grab a pair of needle nose and just grab the connector like this and give it some firm pulls, and eventually it did come out. But what I want to do now is I pulled the power away from the fuel pump. I want to start the car and just let it bleed all the pressure out of it, so that when I start disconnecting these hoses, it's not spraying with 30 psi of fuel pressure. So let me go start the car real quick. And I expect it to start and then stall. Okay, so with the fuel pump disconnected, I went and started the car. It started momentarily and then died, so I know I've got no fuel pressure in here anymore. It's no longer really leaking. And so now I want to disconnect this pipe, which would be pressurized if I didn't do that. So now I can disconnect this, and fuel should not spray everywhere because there's no more pressure in it. Push on a little tab here. And this comes out, and there's no splash or spray anywhere. Perfect. Next step I want to do is this outer ring here. It spins counterclockwise to kind of unlock the fuel pump. So there's a couple of tabs on here that you can get a bite on to kind of rotate this ring, and you'll see it rotates, you know, a little bit, and then it will just lift right out. And this ring is what's holding the pump into the tank. So let me just find a couple of tabs here to gently tap on. Again, we're working around the fuel tank. We don't want sparks and stuff, so let's just go gentle and easy. Just like that. And now this ring will come out. Okay, perfect. Alright, now let's lift this pump out and see what this is all about. Alright, so this is the fuel filter, and the fuel pump is down on the bottom. And actually all I need is this fuel filter. Let me see if I can get this out. Disconnect that. Okay, we got it. Got this hose. We'll let it drain out. So this is a plug. It's got this little plastic part here on the side. You squeeze it and lift it out. So you push on this little plastic piece and then push it out. And now this whole fuel filter comes out of the car. Alright, so here's the fuel filter that came out of the car. It separates itself from the fuel pump by one electrical connector and one hose that is just a push on. You push it on, it clicks, and then to pull it off you gotta push this tab to pull it off. So this is just a push to snap on in one electrical connector. And this is the problem part. It's got this gasket, which we're going to want. We'll take the gasket off, and I think we're done with this. So the new one that I bought on eBay for 40 bucks. I mean, I've got a good quality fuel pump in there. I could buy a fuel pump and filter all together in an assembly for, I don't know, 100 or so, 150 bucks. You can buy an OEM one for probably 400 or 500 bucks. I'd rather not buy a cheap fuel pump from eBay, and I don't want to buy an expensive fuel pump from Audi. I think the pump that's in there is high quality. It's probably fine. This fuel filter is what went bad. I'm okay with buying a cheap fuel filter like this. I think this should last, I mean, as long as I have this car probably. But this is it. It goes back in the tank. Got one connector from the fuel pump onto here. And then this hose, again, you just find the nipple on the fuel pump that I pulled that hose off of. And then just push this on it. It should snap. So push and click, connector, click, set this in place, lock it down, put the other fuel hose that's in the car to this port, and plug the connector in, and we should be good. So this was the part that went bad. It was 40 bucks. And you go to a dealership, they'll keep your car for 2 days, they'll whack you $1,200 for this job. I'm doing it for 40 bucks. So let's get this over to the car and get it in. Alright, so here we are back at the car. We want to put this thing in the right orientation. We've got this gas hose here, and we've got the gas port here. So we're going to be setting it in this way, you know, not this way, but this way. We've got the electrical connection in here. I'm going to fish back out. So here's the harness that is plugging into the bottom of the fuel filter. Alright, let me just kind of see if I can set this aside. See if I can plug this hose in first. I'm going to snap this hose into the fuel pump. If you pulled it out, you'll see exactly where it goes. It's not rocket science or anything. Pretty easy. So let me try to reach in here and snap this in place. Get a good look. Snap it in the same way it came out. Click, it's snapped in place. Beautiful. I've already fished out this harness. This harness is now going to go and snap into place here. Beautiful. I want to make sure now that the float for the sending unit is not binding up at all. Now these two legs go into two positions on the fuel pump, which I can actually get them started right now, so I know they're in place. And one's got a spring, so you'll feel the spring tension. Got to put that gasket on there. Let's not forget the gasket. Okay, so these two legs are going to go into two spots on the fuel pump, and I can see them from here, and I know that I'm getting them in place. And now let me see if I can just set this thing down. Got the gasket. fuel line out of the way. Get the gasket in place here. Okay, that felt good. That felt like everything fell right into place. Now I've got this little bit of spring tension from the spring on one of those legs. Nothing's binding up. Got my gasket in here. The gasket is collapsing nicely. Just feels like this should go in a little further. Now there's one part that this fuel pump has that the original fuel pump did not have, and that's this hose right here. The original fuel pump had a port that's blocked off, was doing nothing, had no hose on it. This one's got this hose with a cap on the port. I don't know if this hose is interfering with something, so I'm cutting this hose off. Alright, so the original fuel pump didn't have this hose. I don't know if this hose is in the way down there. Cutting it right off. It's not needed. So let me see if this thing will fit down in nicely now. Okay. Just get these legs into their spots, like so. This fuel line out of the way. Maybe this gasket. All right, let's look at this gasket. Okay, I thought this gasket came right up with the fuel filter, but I think this gasket has a channel in it, and I think the gasket, let's see, okay, there it is. I had the gasket in wrong. So the gasket wraps around the tank, so it's in the tank like that, and now this should now drop in once I get the two legs in place. This fuel line out of the way, get the two legs in place. I mean, this is turning out to be the trickiest part of the whole job, I think, but it's not bad. Just take your time. Just take your time and get it right. Okay, that feels like it snapped into place nicely. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Now let me get the ring and we'll lock it in place with the ring. Okay, here's the ring. Take that cap off. Okay, that ring's in place now. We'll chase it around with the hammer and screwdriver gently. And I think that's it. Now we'll snap the fuel line on there. Nice click. And last but not least, the connector. Let me put this locking tab back in place. And then this is just push to click. All right. All right, I think we're good. Now I'm going to go turn the ignition on, and then let's check for leaks, and then we'll check and see if the car starts. All right, key on. Should activate the fuel pump. So I heard the fuel pump. And everything's nice and dry. Let's see if she starts up. Alright, started right up. Nice and dry, no more fuel seeping out of this plastic cap, which was cracked. So I think we're good. All right, now let's put things back together. Put this cover on. Ugh. All right, let's put this cover back on. Make sure we get this laying nice and flat. All right, now let's get this seat back in position here. Hopefully this won't put up too much of a fight. Beautiful, everything lines up nice. We'll get these. It's nice and tight. And last but not least, we get the seat in here. There we go. And these two things back in place. All right, looks good. Smells good, more importantly. All right, that wraps up this video. So I had a terrible fuel smell all around this car and in it driving with the windows down, and it was a cracked fuel filter housing. And you know, if you're having a similar problem like this, my recommendation would be to remove that fuel pump access panel and just look right on top of the fuel pump, right on top of that filter. If your filter's leaking like mine was, you'll see gasoline all over the place. And once you see that, then you can be comfortable go ahead and ordering just a fuel filter and not the entire fuel pump for several $100s, and certainly avoid going to a dealership to have this solved because you'll be spending $1,000. I did this for 40 bucks, and you can too. So I hope you enjoyed that. It wasn't too difficult. I would also recommend that you get yourself a set of 4 square bits to get that seat out. Without the correct 4 square bits, you're going to have a bear getting that seat out, and it's not going to be fun. So invest in a set if you have one of these cars anyway, because those fasteners are all over the place. So I hope you enjoyed that. If so, please subscribe to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.